This is the Project 5 visualization for our team. We used the Starbucks food data that was provided to the class, and we chose a scatter plot to best show this data set. So you can select the variable that you want for each axis, which means that you can create 20 possible permutations to visualize this data. You can also further filter the data by item type, which is data that we got from the Starbucks menu. When you click on a specific dot, it's enlarged, and the name and nutrition info for that item is shown here on the side. An example of how someone might use this visualization is to help them pick a lunch item for the menu that fits their dietary needs. They might be on a diet and want to get lots of protein, but as few carbs as possible. So they would pick protein for one axis and carbs for the other, and then filter down to lunch items. Lots of protein but few carbs would mean you'd want to be in the bottom right region of this graph. So then they could click on the dots to see what those max items are, check the other nutritional info if that's relevant, and then pick an item that sounds the best. So a turkey and Havarti sandwich might be the best option to just maximize protein and minimize carbs, but this person might also see that the chicken artichoke on ancient grain flatbread is also pretty close, and this person might think that that sandwich sounds better that day, and the graph would help them make that choice. So first, this visualization is helping them find just what their options are. If you're reading this information off of the menu or even off of a bar chart or a spreadsheet, it would be hard to remember all the information and find items. You might be able to find the minimum and maximum, but having them on a chart like this actually lets you see the whole spectrum of options. It also helps you visualize the differences in nutrition info in the data. Again, if you're just reading this off of the menu or a spreadsheet, it's kind of hard to conceptualize whether there's a big difference in nutrition between the turkey sandwich and the chicken sandwich because protein and carbs are on different scales. But when you see them laid out here like this, it can help you make a decision. Or if you're on keto, you'd still want to compare protein and carbs, but minimizing carbs would be more important than maximizing protein. So you'd want to just look at a different region of the graph, and then that would lead you to the garden greens and shaved Parmesan side salad. Lastly, it's very customizable. Obviously, you want to be able to compare as many items as you want, but having too many on this scatter plot would make it hard to actually pick one out, and there are a lot of items in this data set. So this way, if you know that you're looking for a lunch item, then you can filter out that extra information, and you can customize which variables you're seeing or flip between them to get a more complete picture. So that's not the only way that one might use this visualization. The scatter plots also lend themselves to seeing correlation. And this would be useful if you wanted to generate insights about the Starbucks menu as a whole. So some insights that we can see are if we look at calories versus carbs. Calories and carbs are positively correlated across all the items, and then you can also switch to just lunch and see that that's particularly true across the lunch items. Whereas if we look at fat and carbs, there's no real correlation across the menu. So there's some surprising things that we can see about individual foods. If we compare fat and fiber, this green avocado salad stands out as being very high in fat, which we might not expect for a salad. And you can compare across all the charts if you watch that dot and see that it's high calorie, pretty high carb, pretty high fiber, but not a very high source of protein compared to other options, which with a name like green goddess salad is kind of surprising. So other combinations can also yield interesting outliers, like the fiber versus protein graph, where the lentils and vegetable protein bowl with brown rice sticks out by a lot. Finally, the color coding lets us see trends in the categories of food. If we look at the scatter plot of the whole set for carb versus protein, there's no real trend at all. However, we can see that bakery items are very nutritionally different from lunch items. They occupy this bottom region of the graph that's high carb and low protein, while the blue lunch items are much more varied.